Oh, yeah. Happy New Year to you. 2024 is here. Sixers Talk podcast is as well. We're brought to you by Wilmington University. Wilmview Works. Danny Pommells on the level with Noah Levitt, keeping things on the level, putting the B in boy toy. It's Ben Barry over there, and I'm Danny Pommells. We are at Rivers Casino live and in full effect here on January 3rd. And wow, 2023 is gone. A lot has happened in Sixers fandom since we last spoke with you guys. Where to start, and it has to, of course, be with number 21 because Joel Embiid is back with the Sixers after turning an ankle, being out for about a week and a half. But before we get to all that, how are you feeling, Noah? You doing good? Feeling good?
Yeah. There's some positives to appreciate, and that's definitely, always broadly a resolution to be appreciative of the good things in my life. So yeah, that still I'm not accustomed or just comfortable with here in 2024, but we'll get there. We'll get there soon enough. Yeah.
Always weird writing the new year. You got to kind of condition yourself to write 2024 instead of 23 or whatever the year previous was. You said broadly thankful. Is there any specific resolutions or anything you are pinpointing to change? Or
Oh, for sure. There always is. Yeah, I think I got a solid 10 this year. So yeah, you got some, tangible ones like read 3 or more good books,
right.
Is one. And then, some are more holistic or, more self-improvement-y. But yeah, definitely appreciate family and friends is always got to be up there. And I'll do my best with that one. And yeah, that's definitely something I like doing, though. Kind of new chance to sort of see where you're at and where you want to be. So
I appreciate your cerebralness and the introspection because
I try. I mean, yeah.
No, I appreciate that because it takes a certain type of person to take that look in the mirror and reflect and analyze and things like that. So I admire that quality in you, sir. And the Sixers and their fans are admiring a lot of the qualities of Joel Embiid, who I talked about. And if we just want to talk about what has happened most recently, the Sixers enacting some revenge, avoiding going 0 against the Bulls this season, winning the third of their 3 matchups in South Philly. To recap, 2-2 were the Sixers on that 4-game road trip where they did not see Embiid. 8-1 in December with Embiid on the floor, 10-4 overall in the month of December. A good month for them. They're sitting there right in the mix, although not at the tippy top where the Boston Celtics reside, although they got roughed up by the Oklahoma City Thunder. My son was so happy to talk about that because he's a giant OKC fan and Shai Gilgeous fan, et cetera, et cetera. So he swears they're going to win it all, and this is the year. And I'm like, Julius, you got to pay your dues a little bit just because you're one of the top seeds. I mean, the Bucks and the Celtics, so many teams have been the top seed and not gotten there and had to pay their dues and then come back and yada, yada, yada. So, but
good times to be a Thunder fan.
Yeah. I mean, if you're definitely have been with them through the pain and angst of the years past, this is the time to celebrate for sure. And he doesn't take any moment not to hit me with a Shea quote from his Instagram or some type of something. So, but let's stick with the Sixers. And Embiid said he was not able to put any weight on his foot. He told our Taryn Hatcher after the game until Sunday or Monday, 2 or 3 days before the game. And he comes out and it looks like, man, he is fully in rhythm. The feel of the game was fabulous. Admittedly, the conditioning was a little off kilter, but man, the touch, the flow, the IQ, the underhanded pass to Tyrese Maxey for his 9th assist, the no look to Tobias Harris, helping the Sixers to the 43-point first quarter. I mean, I know I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but I mean, it's just, we try to dodge talking about Joel so much, but talking about him, especially in his first game back, is just inevitable.
Right. Obviously. Yeah. His absence
and a triple double.
Absence was palpable, right? 7th triple-double of his career, and he kept the 30-10 streak alive very narrowly. So I assume he was only going to play 3 quarters because the Sixers had a large lead, and it looked like he was going to fall just short of the 30. He'd missed a few foul shots in that third quarter, and then finds a way to get to the line again with, I think, 1.3 seconds left, knocks him down. And he continues to ascend as far as that, prestigious historic company, I believe, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the last person to have a 30-10 streak this long. Now 15 games for Embiid. But yeah, I think you hit on a bunch of what he did well. I think also the passing really shined early in this game. You figured maybe he'd be a little rusty, a little out of sync with his teammates as far as the timing of cuts.
He was playing basketball, man.
Yeah, made some great reads out of double teams, and then of course didn't look bothered at all when he took a fadeaway jumper or two over a double, and had his way in that second quarter when he had some good isolation chances against old friend Andre Drummond. So this couldn't gone any better for him, I think, in his return, as far as how he looked and how well he meshed with his teammates. And the Sixers really had this game in the bag within 6 minutes, which was awfully impressive. I think, yes, there was that notable context of they sure didn't want to lose all 3 games this season to the Chicago Bulls, but regardless, I think, very, very strong performance back at home and with the MVP back in the lineup. So, great stuff from him, and couldn't have asked for very much better, I think, although it is still wild to just get your head around how routine these sort of numbers are for him.
And, it was a massive blowout, as you mentioned. I have a few more numbers on that, but just a contrast in playing the Bulls in back-to-back games, home and home. Andre Drummond, 23 rebounds in Chicago, 4 rebounds with Joel Embiid back in the lineup, just to show the difference. The post-game crew on Sixers Post-Game Live did a montage of decision-making in the paint by the Bulls offense, and when Joel is anywhere near the basket or the perimeter, it was like a U-turn was going on with them in and out the paint, man.
Seriously, his defense, I think, was strong off the bat and impactful for sure, and the Sixers even had him blitz Kobe White a few times, and I think Embiid looked awfully nimble. He certainly seemed to be moving well. I think Drummond got the vast majority of those boards because the Sixers threw up so many bricks in Chicago. Again, not surprisingly, right? At the end of a road trip.
Back-to-back as well.
Yeah.
After Houston, and so much that was a great game in Houston.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later, but in the back-to-back, it's such low scoring compared to, I think they cracked 130 the night before, and then barely cracked, didn't
90.
reach 100. Right.
Yeah, lowest scoring game of the season. So, Drummond's a great rebounder, I think, regardless of who's out there. I didn't think Paul Reed had a bad start, per se, but certainly Joel Embiid, no one will argue that he's a major upgrade over Paul Reed in most areas of the game, and good.
No Nick Vucevic as well.
No Vus, no Zach LaVine, although it does sound like he's trending toward a return, so that'll be interesting for Chicago. But
trade deadline February 8th as well.
Yeah. I mean, Billy Donovan made it sound like we can expect to see Zach LaVine out there probably next week. So I think, the Sixers and other teams will be curious to see how that goes. But the Bulls have been playing well without him, and they did not look like a very good team once Joel Embiid was back in the fold. I mean, this was probably like the earliest I can remember a game being decided just pretty clearly since maybe like that Sixers-Nets playoff game where the Sixers clinched the series in 2019. I think they were up, it felt like 30-5 or something, and this was similar. I mean, Joel Embiid hits a
41-12.
41-12 is just like, all right, the game is very much over. And I mean, I think they only won by 13, and the Bulls' deep subs were better than the Sixers, but hard to overstate just how early on in the night everyone could sort of sit back and say, all right, that is a Sixers win, and there is no suspense about that.
The Sixers' point differential in the first quarter was the largest in the league this season. There you go with that. And, the Joel Embiid MVP defense continues, and, he records his triple-double, second of the season, 7th of his career. He got the natural rest sitting out the fourth quarter, as we talked about. You mentioned the 30-10 campaign that he's on. I think Kareem was the last one to do that. 15 straight games of just 30 or more points, joining Kobe, Kareem, Wilt, and James Harden. And I was surprised LeBron wasn't on that list somewhere, but of course his game is a lot more varied than just scoring points.
Right.
But some quick trivia for you, sir.
Okay.
Because it's a softball. Because I'm not gonna.
I hope. Let's
But
see. Yeah.
so Embiid 7 career triple doubles,
Mm-hmm.
ties James Harden in this short time frame he was here. I mean, what a baller. Say what you want, but when the ball's on the floor, he is a problem. He joins James Harden, ties him for 6th all time in Sixers history, triple-doubleness. Who are the other 5 guys ahead of him?
Oh, I'm not going to be able to get many of those.
Yes, you will.
I think Wilt Chamberlain's number
That's
one.
number 1. 4 more.
I think Charles Barkley is up there.
He is the 4th on the list at 10 triple-doubles, so
Okay.
definitely within reach for Joel Embiid. So just 3 more.
Okay. Julius Irving.
That is not on the list.
Not on the
but
list.
I know, it's funny.
Okay.
I guess maybe assists. Ben, what are you good? You have a guess? What did he say?
Name the 3 players Noah got.
You want me to tell you? Okay, he got Wilt 62 triple doubles.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He got Charles Barkley, who has 10 triple doubles, and I think that's all he got. Right?
Yeah. So a few more guesses, I would say.
Ben Simmons,
Yeah. Ben
Yeah.
Simmons for sure. Yeah.
32, second all time.
Yeah.
Also remarkable.
Does Mo Cheeks crack that?
He's not on there.
Mo does not.
He's
What
not on
about
there.
Mr. Iverson?
He doesn't. But another AI is on the list.
Another AI Iguodala.
He is right ahead of Embiid at 8.
Really?
On 5th all time. Yeah,
No, he's up there on those all-time
I love that
lists.
I love that you're.
No,
surprised
I shouldn't be surprised. That's the thing.
But no, it's a good conversation. That's
yeah.
Because
Um,
I know you're always poring over the numbers and looking at everything and dissecting things. So I thought you might have come across
I'm
this.
curious. Yeah.
So we don't have 3.
We're missing 1 now because we got Barkley, Iguodala, Simmons, Wilt. Those are 4 of the guys ahead of him, and 1 other.
Charles BC.
He has an awesome nickname. I was just about to say the Kangaroo Kid. Yeah, Billy Cunningham.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 14 career triple doubles
How
for
about
Billy
it? All
Cunningham.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff in the stat sheet. So just thought that was a fun exercise.
That's cool,
Just to
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
stretch your brain a little bit. I love bringing the school of thought in session sometimes, but
Yeah, one historic thing I was aware of with Embiid
Mm-hmm.
is he is 77 points away from passing Red Kerr for 7th on the Sixers all-time scoring list, and obviously he's soaring up there.
Yeah.
But that is a nearing milestone for him.
listen,
as well.
man, there was a time where we thought maybe this was just a, lightning in the bottle for him, or the injuries would catch up with him, or he wouldn't be able to get past some of the conditioning or overcome being working out of double teams, or there was so many things that people speculated about would hamper him or hold him back, but he has just continued to be like an ooze that just spreads and stretches and finds other ways to develop and be effective and so dominant and just fun to watch, and one of the best mid-range jumpers in the game, and his game just seems to revolve around that, and we got a lot of that point Embiid last night with him with the 10 assists and the no-look to Tobias Harris. What was the arena like when that no-look dropped in that third quarter?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a weird vibe in that third quarter because it
was such a blowout. Yeah,
Sixers weren't playing well. It was a sloppy game. Everyone knew it was over, but Embiid was obviously chasing down both milestones, and I think he knew exactly where he was at with both numbers. So it was a little amusing to almost guess, all right, is he kind of try to get closer to the 30 points here? Is he going to get the 10 assists or whatever? But yeah, I mean, no, the passing, as we've commented on in the open floor, continues to be an area the Sixers want him to be a little adventurous. And Nick Nurse doesn't mind some of the mistakes that come along with that, because they figure, well, when this guy gets a defensive rebound and he pushes the ball ahead, he's such a force and he's so hard to handle against an unsettled defense. And yeah, I think his decision making is sometimes off there, but you also see the flashes of brilliance and this increased playmaking feel. And I think you can trace some of that, honestly, back to when Ben Simmons was holding out or, not playing with the Sixers, and Embiid showed that off a little more. Some of the, live dribble, Chris Paul-esque pass fakes, and some of the little flashy moves in the open court. And yeah, I think we see that come out more, obviously, when it's a blowout and there's not much risk. And He loves it. Yeah, he loves that part of the game.
The MVP as a home on the market as well created some, murmurs and rumor and conjecture among Sixers fans about his intentions or whatever. He's selling his penthouse and maybe I would think upgrading to something bigger, more family friendly would be my guess, rather than it be speculation of some type of movement or him not liking the city or whatever, which people, like to stir up and drum up on the underbelly of things. But we're going to move on from Embiid and discuss some more about this Sixers team. But let's play some Bills because there's plenty more to talk about. And we are, of course, brought to you by Wilmington University. Find your higher education home at Wilmington University, where your academic success is celebrated by a caring community. Explore your opportunities at wilmu.edu. Celebrity cook Steve Martirano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martirano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations for Martirano's Prime on Open Table. I'm sure it was popping in here for New Year's Eve. Martirano's Prime was probably overflowing with folks as we're back here on the Sixers Talk podcast, brought to you by Wilmington University at Rivers Casino. And Noah, Vin Barry, before we move on, sent a trivia question of who is the most overpaid Sixer of all time. I'm going to go with Matt Geiger or something like that.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember. Yeah. No, back in 2020, I remember we did some lists of, the best free agent signings, the worst, et cetera. I know Matt Geiger was a top 5 guy.
Was he really?
Kenny Thomas was up there as well. Honestly,
out of New Mexico, right? Mexico State?
Yes, New Mexico, I think.
Okay.
There were several Billy King era guys. Brian Skinner was up there, honestly.
That's why when I brought up the triple-double thing, I'm like, this dude has so much just knowledge of random things.
It's just all random. Yeah, so those guys are up there, but I think Geiger wouldn't be a bad call. And I think in recent years, obviously Al Horford and to a lesser extent, Tobias Harris would be in the conversation. I think Horford definitely is a strong contender, right? Yeah. I mean, it was, I think, $96 million guaranteed, and they actually did decent work to get off the contract after 1 year.
Daryl Morey gets enough credit for that.
That draft night, he definitely crushed it in multiple ways, and that was well done there. So,
is there an answer to this question, Ben, or is this just a theoretical? Look at him. You got this giant smirk on his face.
Yeah. Geiger's not a bad one, honestly. But hey, I mean, to all those guys' credit, they did some good things on the floor for the Sixers. And Elton Brand's up there too, But,
well, and a lot of people, I think, in sports in general, get paid retroactively on work that they've done to earn the contract rather than the future of what they might produce. You know what I'm saying? And guys like Geiger, an older league back then, you know what I'm saying? He's getting maybe this big contract when he's in his early 30s and has to produce up until his mid to late 30s. You know what I'm saying?
Just hard.
I don't even know when the time frame. I'm just talking from experience.
A lot of these guys, injuries were a huge factor and just shortened or limited their careers. Obviously, with Elton Brand, the Sixers expected a bit more from him, and he just kept being limited by his injury woes. So, I think if we're going back in Sixers history, those 4 or 5 guys would probably be among the top 8 or 9, and I'm sure folks have others in mind as well. But that is the initial thought from me.
Hey, this is Sixer Talk podcast, but all things are in play, and the Sixers have an MVP in Joel Embiid, possibly 2 All-Stars this year, and that guy would be Tyrese Maxey. Will they add a third? Is the speculation and the hope here as the February 8th trade deadline comes together. How that will come together, we don't know, but we'll be abreast of it no matter which way. But I bring up their second All-Star because some interesting things happened here while Joel Embiid was away. Just let's start with last night. Maxey, 4 for 7 from 3, the 7th player to hit 100 threes this season. I mean, the stock is up, man. The stock is up, and the growth and the, continued baffling of how he slipped to where he did in the draft so the Sixers could draft him. 21, is that what it was?
Yes.
So it's just a remarkable guy. The step back, the stuff, the parts of his game that he's changed and altered and whatnot are amazing. We saw him erupt for 27 in the first half in Houston, 42 in the game. We did see him a little not himself in Miami. So
played horribly in Miami.
Right. Okay. I was, sugarcoated it.
He would tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he played horribly in Miami. What do we learn? What do we gain from this time with Embiid away in those 4 games and Maxey kind of being the guy? And, they had Melton, 1.5 games now that he's been out?
So just the one thus far.
Last night.
Yeah, some back soreness. So we'll see if that's lingering. Nick Nurse at least said his impression is none of the absences last night are long term. Covington and Korkmaz were out as well.
I bring it up because that's his boy.
Yeah.
Melton's his boy.
For sure. Yeah. So Melton. I think he was available throughout the road trip, but missed the game last night. And the Sixers rolled out the new starting lineup with Oubre and Batum both in there, and early returns were fantastic.
Man, Batum's shooting pocket, bro. I'm like, my jaw is like on the floor every time I see it because it's like it completely goes against what you teach because he does it so all in one rhythm. Like the catch, gather, and shoot kind of happens when needed.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's aspects of it that are as textbook as you get.
Right.
Because I think that hurts a lot of guys in their development where they have like a 2 or 3 motion shot.
Particularly in the NBA when there's a small margin for error.
Yeah. But it is fascinating to me how there's a like semi-robotic mechanical aspect to it. But there's also like a pretty high level of just like artistic adaptability where he can vary that, and there was one in Chicago that's easily the fastest we've ever seen by a Sixer, right? But there are others where it's merely quick. So he's obviously honed that over the years.
The hips, the shoulders,
right. We all focus on the final part of it, but absolutely the ability to align is wild.
He comes off those curls sometimes or in the corner, and he's catching, shooting, and turning all at the
and he seems to have such a narrow base. I think part of that's just the build, but it's still in real time. It's hard to understand how you can look that narrow and not seem to have your feet or anything under you, yet it is also perfectly aligned and out of there so quickly and so beautiful
and accurate.
I think he's still up around 50% from 3 as a Sixer. So perhaps that won't still be the case, but looks sustainable that he's still an elite shooter who's going to get off all the open looks that come his way, but still, be really valuable to them as a passer and super unselfish and make a lot of guys better. I mean, Oubre last night said he enjoyed it a lot and he was looking forward to getting to play with Batum because he's this calming, poised presence who just does pretty much everything well on the court, and definitely think that's unanimous among the Sixers that when you're on the court with him, you're having a good time and you feel like a little bit better, version of yourself.
Listen, I don't want to, belabor this or exaggerate it. When you see sports, you watch the game all the time. Things stick out like little Ja Morant's bounce, like him dunking on Wemby, or a quick Iverson crossover, Harden with this step back move, Maxey with the step back move. When you see that Batum shooting pocket thing, it sticks out. It's like, what was that? You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's remarkable.
I agree. He has a few elements of his game that are like that to me, that are top 0.1%. I mean, I think the entry passing is up there too. Just extraordinarily crafty, and we talk about touch with shooting. The ability to loft passes into tight windows and to understand when those windows are open and to lead guys into space like a quarterback. Some of those skills are also elite. But yes, he, I think, will be remembered by a lot of people who watched him for that shot, and that's not a bad thing for to be your signature. So he missed I think 5 games with a hamstring issue, and this was his second one back, and so far, so good.
This conversation started talking about Maxey. We kind of veered off a bit, but we saw the yin and the yang. And a bad game is a bad game, but, what he did in Houston was, especially with it being so down to the wire and so many other great guards on the floor, producing and showing off what they had. So Maxey, as we know, in lockstep and kind of even more elite than those other guys. But what did we pick up anything on him not being able to play with Embiid and showing what he had and how he's changed his game and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's super unfamiliar at this point, and obviously the Sixers have had him, running the show in a lot of Embiid-less lineups for a couple years now. But I did think in Houston it was really encouraging that he was frustrated in the first quarter. He didn't get a whistle or two.
And he took it out on Houston.
Yeah, well, I mean, he just had an Embiid-esque mindset, it felt like to me, where he said, all right, I'm going to make the calls obvious. You're going to have to call this. I'm just going to plow in there.
Right, and what was the thing with, I keep diverging, but Nick Nurse mentioned the thing Maxey did on purpose to show.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So Houston draws a career high in free throws, makes 14 of 15, and isn't deterred or discouraged by one or two whistles not going his way. I think that's big, and I think he's moving in the right direction there. And we talk about being an efficient player, an efficient star. The Sixers already have a lock for that every single night in Joel Embiid, and Maxey, I think, makes continued impressive growth there. And even on nights where the shooting is a little bit off, or just the luck isn't there, I think you're starting to feel like he's going to be able to draw some free throws, and he's going to take care of the ball well, and he's going to have some maturity and some ability to help you in other ways besides 3-point shooting and besides lightning quick drives or what have you. So I think all those things are trending up. I didn't think it was his best road trip in the world or anything, but I still think he looks like it would be ridiculous if he's not an all-star. He's an all-star right now without question, and I imagine the debate will become starter or not. And I think the Sixers all feel that he's a all-star starter level player, and I think they've got a case thus far. But yeah, the thing last night was funny. So he's guarding Alex Caruso, who's obviously a good player, but not a huge threat off the bounce. And Maxey, I think it was the first or second play of the game, just guards him very physically, commits a pretty obvious foul, kind of hand checking him, bumping, and he's right in front of the Sixers bench, and Nick Nurse overhears it. And, apparently Maxey basically said to the official, that's what that's what opponents and that's what the Bulls do to me, all the time. So, all right, that's a foul. Give me that call on the other end, right?
Ooh,
so
gamesmanship.
Yeah, a little savviness and, the type of thing you'd expect to hear from a veteran. And I think, of course, with, Tyrese Maxey, it's said, in good nature and kind of trying to get on the official's good side, very early in the game. And, I think, you don't dislike hearing that by any means. Drawing fouls should be an important part of his game because he is so dynamic as a driver, and he's got increasing, threat level as a shooter, and he should be getting in that paint a lot, and the result sometimes should be drawing fouls. So the Sixers have really been campaigning. Nurse, leading the charge. I think that he just doesn't get enough whistles. I think broadly I agree. And I think Tyrese Maxey also is understanding it's not always going to fall your way, but do everything within your power. And that is, maybe a little new trick he's learned, little ways to hopefully get on the officials, good side moving forward. But yeah, that was a funny tale from Nurse last night.
Bro, if he's garnering or gaining any wisdom or knowledge from Embiid on how to do that effectively.
James Harden, obviously. I mean, it's...
Oh, and this one was to say.
We got to give James Harden credit.
Right? You give him credit for that, credit for the step back in Maxey's game. I mean, what the impact that these guys have had on him and he's absorbed. I mean, it's the way to measure it is kind of difficult because you can't even quantify how much confidence or, what that's done to how he's playing right now. It's just so... Yeah,
I mean, the foul drawing specifically, that is picked up from James Harden. I mean, they, we're working together in the summer, playing one-on-one, and Maxey said he learned the secrets. He's not inclined to divulge them, but I have no doubt that some things that are not public knowledge in James Harden's foul drawing arsenal are now in Tyrese Maxey's bag. So,
Wow.
yeah, he's clearly not at that level yet, right, of prime James Harden with the foul drawing, but
Overlooked part of it, man. Overlooked part
yeah.
of trading for Harden, man.
Yeah, no,
overlooked part.
and like to Harden's credit, as I've said, very sour, bitter end here, but I think from day one he loved Tyrese Maxey, as most people do, and he really enjoyed that role of like, I can be a mentor to this guy, I can teach him what I know, and I can help him be great. So I think James Harden definitely still a fan of Maxey from afar, and as we've said, it's a bit of a bummer. We have to wait a while to see that Sixers Clippers matchup. Obviously, the Clippers have like gotten it together, and look to be a very good team. So I'm going to be excited for that one coming up. I think in March is the first one, Sixers Clippers, and Maxey versus Harden for the first time. I think will be a popcorn sort of game.
I really enjoy thinking about that, and the dividends that relationship has paid off for this team. Really underrated to think about that factor in the trading Harden for Simmons and the coup that you got for shipping him away afterward, and the total net return and whatnot. So, talking about opponents, future opponents, let's move on a little bit and discuss 5 of the next are at home.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Knicks traded for OG Anunoby and Precious Achiuwa as well. And how many picks? One pick?
Malachi Flynn as well,
Okay.
and a very high second-round pick, the Detroit Pistons second-round pick.
Don't know if the Knicks won that trade because they gave up Emmanuel quickly. I'm not a big RJ Barrett fan, but they get to move on from his contract.
Right.
I do feel like the Raptors are good at developing people and, turning maybe I was going to say something I shouldn't have, but turning water into wine, so to speak.
Sure.
But what type of Knicks team do you feel like we'll get on Friday when the Sixers host them? There'll be a ton of Knicks fans here, as there always are. Jalen Brunson has been playing really well. Will OG be seamless into what they have there? Do you feel like this will be a formidable opponent come Friday?
Be a good opponent, yeah. I mean, it looked like his debut went smoothly. He, was impressive as a cutter and as a complimentary guy who just was sort of thrown in there and didn't have much trouble, being a nice teammate of Brunson's. And I think that is a huge part of Anunoby's appeal, that you put him next to like ball dominant players, and he's going to be a big positive for you on both ends, and he's going to be an elite defensive player. So it'll be an interesting challenge for the Sixers. We'll see. The Maxey Brunson matchup will obviously have implications in the whole All-Star voting, All-Star starter kind of conversation.
Ready. Because Jalen Brunson's familiar with the arena,
Yeah, he's had some good games as a pro here as well. I think for the Sixers, will be intriguing to see what they do defensively. I think on the road trip we saw some heavier doses of zone to compensate for Embiid's absence, and I think Nick Nurse still has some things he's yet to roll out, according to him, but we're seeing more and more of their ability to turn to a variety of defensive coverages, and perhaps Jalen Brunson is a guy who sees some form of, high attention, whether that's blitzing him, whether that's, a box and one or something else unconventional from Nick Nurse. So, I think that'll be a neat little storyline in addition to the obvious, individual matchup sort of stuff. And just seeing what the Sixers look like against the Knicks. It was interesting to see that trade go down, obviously well before February 8th. Yeah.
But had been rumored that he was available and on the market for a long time, and the reported asking price come way down.
And to your point about the development, of course, it's basically a new regime there, no Nick Nurse, and now Darko Rajakovic, who has a great reputation as a developmental coach. I mean, to me, the trade is, all right, we got a guy, in Quickly, who I think is only 23, Barrett's 24. Let's see, if there is untapped potential, and if you can get the best out of these players. So, first game against the new look Knicks, and the fact that they got it done, I think, well before the deadline. allows them, they hope, to avoid some of the, growing pains that sometimes befall teams who are trying to scramble to get it all together before the playoffs.
We are going to get out of here on the Sixers Talk podcast, but before we go, other Sixers are playing well and fun to watch. Do you have a favorite Kelly Oubre Jr. celebration? He has the double X no on the blocks. There's the blow and the kiss. There's the I think he does the blow the kiss to the fans. There's something different he does when he was in front of the bench and blew a kiss to somebody directly on the bench.
Yep.
There's a 3-point celebration. Anything that
Yeah, the blow and the kiss, I guess, is a little reminiscent of the Jason Kidd free throws, right?
Right, because Jason Kidd. Right.
Yeah, but that was more like part of his routine. Where I think Oubre, there's some spontaneity. Yeah, I like the X after the blocks.
Yes.
I think he appreciates. When he makes a good defensive play and he wants everyone to see it.
Real athlete, man.
Yeah. No, and he I think initially, looked a little rusty post return from the rib injury, and now for the most part now he's looking like the Kelly Oubre we saw before, and he had a great first quarter. I think he had 13 on 4 for 5 shooting. He actually outscored Joel Embiid, and I think I like the theater of the X.
Oh my gosh!
It's like
what?
Unless in case you missed that, right?
It's just,
I swatted that.
He's
thing.
a scene stealer. He's a scene stealer, man.
And I guess more and more, I'm feeling like he's a guy that certainly lacks recent playoff experience, but man, he's not going to lack confidence on the big stage. Sure. We go back to opening night in Milwaukee, and he had a great game and. Looked like he thought he was one of the best players on the court, and I think that feels really consistent from him. And he's going to have some ups and downs as a shooter and just as a player overall, but that intangible, I believe in myself more than anyone in the world quality, it matters.
With the athleticism, because he can actually do some of the things.
You got to back it up, and it can't be all delusional, right? It's got to be based in some substance. I think. He had a very nice game last night, and if you missed the play, the celebration told you, you might want to rewind that one. So that's always helpful as well. Yeah, man,
fun dude to watch, and the Sixers have a knack for. Pat Beverly fits that mold as well, but they have a knack for having some of those guys in the mix. But the website, what's going on there? Noah, NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com, where everyone can read your work.
Yeah, so I have observations on the game last night, hitting on a bunch. One little nugget we didn't touch on, Ricky Council IV made his NBA debut. So we talked to him a little after the game about that experience and what's been going well for him in the G League and that sort of stuff. And on deck.
And we got to shout out Kenneth
Lofton Jr.
Kenny Lofton Jr. Yes.
Really warm cheers. The fans, I think, have immediately taken to him. As we said, the Sixers didn't fare so well in garbage time, but it was, I think, nice for Lofton to, hear that the fans are really, really behind him. And he, I think, has been putting up some big numbers in Delaware, and that's going to probably continue for the foreseeable future, but Sixers were shorthanded. They had a blowout, and they got to get these guys some debuts, which was neat. On deck, have a feature coming up on the Sixers full-time DJ that Nick Nurse.
DJ Ghost.
Yeah, it used to be just really for the game nights, and now he is there at every practice and following instructions from Nick Nurse on what songs to play and what sound effects they want for certain situations and things of that nature. So, have a story coming up on that and the impact it's had on the day-to-day experience for the Sixers team, and it's definitely a little unusual to have a DJ who was assigned to be there for every single practice, and it was neat to hear about what that entails and how guys feel about having DJ Ghost on board on a full-time basis.
Hell of a gig. Gig to get.
I mean, one funny nugget he said, he's he used to be not at all a morning person because he'd be out at a club or an event or whatever and get back at 3 or 4 a.m. and now he said he's got to often get up at 6 a.m. So he said his lifestyle is very different, but he's loving it, and it's definitely an unusual job title, but he's he's definitely a fan of the work that he's doing for the Sixers full time now.
I'm a big proponent of staying down and seeing where it takes you, and I'm sure this was a result of some of that, because who knew what it would develop into what it is now. But I'm sure we'll all check out your article and find out about the ins and outs of it. And that does it for the Sixers Talk podcast, brought to you by Wilmington University. Wilm U Works. For Ben Barry and Noah Levick, I'm Danny Pommells. We're live at Rivers Casino. We'll see you next time.